Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ambassador Program Information Session. Thank you all for coming. I wanted to know if any of you have not attended City University yet. Okay, I'm really excited that you're here. Our ambassador program is meant to bridge the gap between the city and the public. Our City University program is really to teach you about the city. It's a 9-week course where you would come weekly and get presentations by each department, and they would teach you everything that you need to know for the basics. But the ambassador program is for you to bring this information out to the public. With the City Ambassador Program, you'll have quarterly messaging from our departments, whether it be annual messaging that happens every year, or it's circumstantial messaging like our aggressive driving campaign. We're having an issue with that right now, so hopefully you guys can get the message out for us. The Ambassador Program will hopefully help you to make new connections and also bring this messaging out to the connections that you already have at your HOA groups, your church groups, any of the groups that you are already a part of. So we would have postcards. Hopefully we're going to have quarterly meetings to kind of have you guys come and get updated on that messaging. We also have an app or a website. Depends on how well you like to use your phone. You can use it on your phone. If you don't like to use your phone in that way, don't have a smartphone, you can still use it on the computer. We would have messaging summaries. Anything that you hear at our quarterly meetings, we would put a summary of that to where if in a couple weeks you don't remember the details of everything that was said, you can say, oh wait, let me go look on the app, look on the website, and it's written out for you. Providing feedback after you talk to these groups, you can tell us how well that message was received. You can tell us if there are issues, if there are questions, things that, we might think everyone wants to know X, Y, and Z, and there might be a lot of people asking the same questions, and maybe we need to change our messaging. It's really a tool to help us help the community better. Volunteer opportunities. We have a lot of city events that our communications department works at, has a booth, tries to let residents know that they should stay informed, sign up for emails, text messages, things like that. And if you wanted to sign up to volunteer at those events, you would have opportunities listed on the app. Direct contact, you could reach out to me via email or phone call via this app at any time. Obviously, you could have my business card, you can have my name saved in your phone, but this is another way. And meeting dates, it would also have the meeting dates listed on there for the year, so you can see that at any given time and plan your schedule around it. So that messaging feedback, it's exactly what I just described, but it's a form that you would fill out. It would be as easy as possible, kind of a checkbox of what did I talk to people about based off of what I heard. How well was it received, 1 to 5? Do you have any comments? If you had any pictures, like let's say you talked to your HOA group and you all got a picture together, you're welcome to upload that there. And again, continuous improvement, we're just trying to inform residents best. So if you want to become a city ambassador, you would go through our volunteer application process. It's a lot like applying for a normal job. So it's listed on our city's website under job listings, but it's just listed as a volunteer opportunity with 0 pay. And you would apply through there, get fingerprinted so we make sure that everyone is safe, and we can move forward from there. Well, we are going to give you a taste of some of the messaging that we are planning on giving out. We have a representative from our police department here to speak to you about aggressive driving.
All right, so good evening, everyone. I am Mark DeMaio. I'm Deputy Chief, and so I am filling in for Chief Nimsick, so I appreciate it. And if you were looking forward to seeing the Chief, I know that sometimes, when they say the President's coming and you get the Agriculture Secretary, it's a little, it's a little letdown. So I'm filling in, so I will do my best. So So, welcome, and we are going to talk a little bit about what the priorities of the police department are for this quarter. And obviously, as you've heard throughout the beginning of this program really, and we have our program as well, our Citizen Academy. It aligns up very much with City University, which we participate in. And again, we hear this as well. What do we do after, and what if we want to stay engaged, and what are some of the things we can do? So we were all looking for some sort of a program to continue the outreach and really help along. So this really is a great and enhanced way to have citizenship and involvement, and really to be those ambassadors out there in the community to speak for us when we're not available to. So we are very much looking forward to this, because again, especially from the police department standpoint, we certainly can always use advocates when someone's there saying, something. It's always great to have a voice defending and supporting us, so we're very appreciative. So I'll go through the presentation a little bit, and then certainly I'll take any questions and talk a little bit more about some specifics. But our priorities right now for the quarter, and this is something that's going to continue, is aggressive driving. I think we all understand aggressive driving is a major issue that we're dealing with throughout the city, and it is something that our chief has taken on full force. When he became chief recently in November, he made that a priority to address. And one of the reasons is that even though we are out there, and even though we're out there issuing citations and issuing tickets and being proactive, unless individuals feel it and see it, it's not something that they can tangibly turn to and say, I know it's happening. So for us, as it was addressed and spoken to, one of the chief's priorities was getting the information out there. And as you can see, we have one of our police information officers, Brittany Holly, here with us, and she's just done a fantastic job on social media pushing the information out. And it is through groups like this that continue to put the information out that we'll be able to get the message. For us, and for me, it's self-serving to be an advocate to say, well, here's the number of tickets we wrote, and accidents are actually down. If citizens don't feel it and don't hear it from other groups, it's not as if they believe it. So really, when you see the numbers, and I can show you the data and obviously point you in the direction of our social media, which I'll ask you to, obviously in conversation with your peers, to continue to push people to that, to see the good work that's being done. So I'll go ahead and start. All right, so basically the message and what we're looking to get out there in just a really brief kind of sentence or two is, our expectation as an agency to increase citizen awareness, to reduce traffic complaints, to maintain safe roadways, and decrease traffic crashes and fatalities. So that really, in a nutshell, is what we're trying to do and trying to accomplish, and really the message we ask for our ambassadors to continue to push of what we're trying to do. So here is really what we've been dealing with, and we took about a 4-year look, 5-year look from 2020 to the end of 2024, and you can see, and I know this is, as I said, kind of it'll come across self-serving from our standpoint, but really as the ambassadors, these are the messages and the key points we're trying to get. We do get a lot of citizen involvement and citizen complaints, and one of the biggest things I hear is, I'm not seeing the enforcement, or why isn't anything being done? And this really encompasses, there is a tremendous amount of work being done, and as you can see by the size of the city, being such a large city, it's hard to be everywhere at one time. So people might not see enforcement going on in a certain section, but I can guarantee you and I can show you that there is enforcement going on throughout the city. And so if you look at the traffic crashes, obviously in 2020, we know that there was COVID and we know what was going on there. It's a little bit of an anomaly going on. But for the most part, they stayed pretty consistent in traffic accidents. And so, I'll read the messaging here. Despite increase in population within the city of Port St. Lucie, the number of crashes and specifically fatalities, which I'll get to, have remained relatively the same over the past 5 years. And even just to show the message even more, this Saturday, we are going to 3 regions, and we're going to additional zones and districts to increase our presence and ability to be out there. So I'll just go back and show you. Our current map has 2 regions, an east and a west, with 5 districts. And as of Saturday, we're actually increasing the size of our patrol to 3 regions and 6 districts, increasing our officer presence, increasing our officers out there. So it just shows you we are adapting to the growth of the city and taking into account the large growth happening out west out there by Glades Cutoff, and we'll have dedicated officers out there, out in Range Line Road now, to really take the growth that we're seeing and shift and make sure it's a priority. So traffic enforcement, this is a big question we get, how many tickets, and I don't see tickets and citations, and so you can see the numbers there, and you can see how gradual increase, obviously 2020 as we talked about, but then you get into 21, 22, 23, all the way up till the end of this year, we issued close to 54,000 citations for the year. Now those are huge numbers, and it's not as if it's something that we're gleefully saying, oh, we're writing citations and trying to hammer people, but in essence what we are saying is we are using enforcement as one of the tools that we use to address our aggressive driving and speeding and all those different types of infractions that we see. So our messaging for this is we're currently deploying our traffic enforcement in 2 ways, which we are. First, you have the random patrol enforcement, which is officers on patrol when they're out there and they're in their uncommitted time, which we consider not on a call for service. So unless they're getting a radio dispatch call for service, that's their uncommitted time. Now, years ago in law enforcement, you'd be able to park under a tree or drive around aimlessly and burn gas, but that's not how we handle it here, and that's not how we expect our officers to behave, and that's not how our accountability model is. If you're on your uncommitted time, not on a call for service, then that's our time, and we have our officers out there being proactive, looking for hotspots, looking for crime, and most importantly, addressing aggressive driving and addressing traffic infractions. So that random patrol part of it is our general patrol officers perform when either observing an infraction while conducting routine business or while conducting traffic crash investigations. And then you have the second type of enforcement, which is actually assigned neighborhood complaints. So we do get a lot of complaints called in through neighborhood complaints, and that generally is people speeding down our block, or people are going through a stop sign or something like that. So when we get those in, and we get those a variety of different ways, they'll come in through 911, they'll come in through email, they'll come in through phone, and they'll come in through website. We will take those, they'll get filtered in through me, and I will break them up into our regional captains, and they will take them and assign them to the zone officer to go out there and do enforcement and observations. So that's the different ways that we will take it. And so those are our 2 ways that we're doing it, both through random patrol and through assigned complaints. So how we resolve traffic complaints: if someone calls in and says they're speeding on my street, it's happening between this time in the morning, school time, or after people coming home from work at the end of the day. So there's a couple of different ways that we will do that. First and foremost, we can issue speed studies. Now that'll come through traffic engineering. If a speed study is completed and it's determined by the captain that the speed complaint is valid, the area may be classified as a chronic traffic location. We'll take that, we'll assign that for 2 weeks of traffic dedicated enforcement. We'll have officers in the area at the time that we're getting the complaints that the traffic study has shown, and we'll be out there enforcing traffic. And that'll be education, that'll be enforcement, that'll be citations, warnings, and so that takes you to the next point of chronic traffic locations are assigned to the traffic unit and patrol for enforcement efforts. We place a thread, and that is our way of saying in our briefing, it's up on the briefing board for the officers to see of the locations that they're assigned throughout the night. And then deployment, traffic officers are assigned exclusively to the traffic enforcement and responsible for any chronic locations, focusing primarily on speed, If there's a specific complaint of running red lights or running a stop sign, we'll do that, and obviously focusing on DUI and aggressive driving. So here's our breakdown currently of the traffic statistics. These are the complaints we get by district, and I said currently we have 5 districts. Obviously, as of Saturday, I mentioned we're going to a 6th district. So as of right now, you can see the highest area is District 2. That's right here where the District 3 and District 2 are pretty much tied, 187, 186. But District 2 is right here where the police department is. It's a large concentration of neighborhoods and residential area, Aroso, Bayshore, Floresta, between Prima Vista and Port St. Lucie Boulevard. That's kind of our District 2 area. District 3 is what would be considered Rosser, Gatlin, Port St. Lucie Boulevard, Darwin area. And as you can see, those are our large residential pockets of the city. And so they tend to have the largest concentration of neighborhood complaints of traffic. So our traffic-related complaints are about 61%. And here's one of the messages that we would like to continue to get out, and we ask as ambassadors, when you hear, you know, complaints of, well, traffic, and I don't see enough being done on traffic, and that we have very dangerous and I think it's an important message to get out that despite increased population, which obviously we all see that there is an increase in population and higher reported crashes, our traffic fatalities have remained consistent and well below the state average. Our average for traffic fatalities is 0.17, and the national or the state average is 0.78% of traffic accidents. So deployment of traffic enforcement personnel. So we have a specific traffic unit dedicated to handling traffic complaints and going out there and proactively enforcing traffic issues. We have a day shift, and now we've broken that into an evening shift as well. We have 7-day-a-week coverage. We have days and evenings from 7 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the morning. And as you can see, it'll say, during 2024, we had 10 traffic officers assigned exclusively to traffic enforcement, while the remainder of sworn officers are also responsible for traffic enforcement during uncommitted time. 6 of the traffic officers were assigned a day shift, and 4 assigned to evening shift going until 1 in the morning. All are responsible for traffic in chronic locations, while the evening shift focus on DUI and aggressive driving primarily, especially later into the night where we do see aggressive driving tick up and primarily DUIs. So important notes and some important things that we'd like to just take away is we're maintaining safe roadways despite our population growing faster. Driver distractions are ever increasing along with technology, and that goes for the smartphones, and now every car seems to have a tablet on their own built in where people are playing around with it. So we know that not only aggressive driving but distracted driving is an issue, and we've partnered with FDOT, which is, you know, Department of Transportation, and they have a campaign called Target Zero, which obviously refers to reducing all fatalities to zero. And so we've partnered with that, and that's an education campaign that we participate in as well. So again, and just to kind of end with that message that we started with, as an agency, our expectation is to increase citizen awareness, reduce traffic complaints, maintain safe roadways, decrease traffic crashes and fatalities. So, with that being said, obviously I'll open up to questions, but certainly I just want to again touch on the great work our Police Information Office has done, and this is a priority that the Chief has put on. And if you do get a chance to please go to our Facebook and look, there's a daily post put on there about aggressive driving and speeding, and it really has caught on and captured the interest. Some beautiful music happening. Well, okay. Is that me? No. I was going to say, if that really was me, that really worked out fantastic. But yeah, if you go on that Facebook page and see the good work that's being done, it really showcases our commitment to aggressive driving, to speeding, to dealing with the traffic issues that we have. One of the things we've noticed is unless we are getting the message out there, it's not really being effective, and that's where education comes in, and that's where pushing that message in there. What we've done in a lot of our surveys through these type of connections in our citizen surveys is there's a difference between someone's expectations and someone's feelings about crime and traffic as opposed to reality. And I don't want to sit here and argue with people and say, well, you're wrong. It's just a better message to say, here are the facts. And the facts are, we've issued close to 54,000 citations a year. Our traffic fatalities are way below what the state average is, and our crashes have actually been consistent while growth has continued to grow. So from those metrics, we have actually done a great job, and we continue to push that message. Again, I just ask you to look at that Facebook page for the police department, look at what we're doing, and continue to sell that message. So does anybody have any questions? Yes. Oh, go ahead. Blue shirt. Yeah.
You would do the enforcement act, but do you get into a frustration level that the legal system really doesn't back you up? I mean, there's been some real horrendous things, and I was from an area that they would pull the license for 10 years and take the car and either scrap it, or if it was worth something, put it in for the auction.
Yeah.
Get in there, because especially you got people that the message is never going to go unless they really feel it hard.
I do agree, and Brittany can talk to that. I don't want to kind of put her on the spot, but one of the things that we understand when we do Facebook messaging is you got to take the good and the bad, and there are comments that come on a lot about what you're talking about, and a lot about it is not negative towards us. It's commentary towards the disbelief of what the citations and the fines are, especially for newer citizens and residents here to the city and to the state. I do hear that a lot from other states, especially states up north or somewhere else where there's higher penalties or higher fines. But again, we're governed by the legislation that we have, and we are using the citations as we can, as effective as they are, to the fullest extent that we are. And so I do understand that. That's one of those things where we tell people, listen, lobbying and being an advocate for us is the best thing that someone can do. And we have had situations where people have had tragedy, a loved one, unfortunately killed or, very badly injured in accidents or drunk driving. And again, they tend to turn that grief into action and become advocates and become lobbyists for changing a lot of the rules you're talking about. But that comes through grassroots efforts, through talking with your legislators and talking with your representatives. So we do try to push that message, yeah.
Am I right in what I read that you had no ability to use unmarked cars because it wasn't really allowed by state? I was always curious why I never saw so many marked cars, but not the unmarked. And now recently I seem to be seeing both state and local, you're picking up the unmarked stuff out there patrolling.
I don't want to give away too much of our tactics, but I can assure you that there are, cars out there that aren't striped. So I don't know, but if there is, don't tell them that we're using them. So I mean, please, I don't, yes. So yeah, we use all different types of enforcement. We have motorcycles, we have cars, we have SUVs, we have bikes, we have radar, we have drones. We're fully equipped agency, and we use every available resource we have. So go ahead, sir.
On the e-bikes, what's the law for the e-bikes? Where are they supposed to be riding the e-bikes? Do you need a license for one of these e-bikes? I see so much all over the city, they're just going crazy with these e-bikes, and I'm just afraid it's going to be a major accident with these things.
All right, no more questions? All right, thank you, everyone. Goodbye. All right. Wow, jumping right. E-bikes, it's on our website, and we do touch on it. There was a story that came out actually from West Palm, and there's an article on it that's talking about, like everything else, it starts out casually, and then these things grow to they're going 45 miles an hour. It was supposed to be pedal assisted at one time, where it'll just help you. Now I saw someone pass me, and I'm like, what is that? The guy's going 55 miles an hour in the fastest lane in a little e-bike. So yeah, I mean, these are all things where technology sometimes gets ahead of itself, and then legislation has to catch up with it. As of right now, we're dealing with them as we can. We've had some situations where there was one involved in an accident, and we're getting up to speed on it as best we can. And again, we'll follow the laws as they are. I know this question comes up the same with golf carts and e-bikes, and a lot of that comes up, and sometimes it gets a little controversial. For us, and from the chief's priority, as the laws stand, is how we'll enforce them. So, I can't sit here right now and tell you I know everything about it and what it says and what the exact speed has to be, but as it comes out and as it gets legislated and adjudicated, we will adapt to it as best we can. So we're handling them as the law provides. So, all right. Yes.
I was actually just taking note. On your presentation, it said that there's District 3 having the highest complaint at 186. But then I think I heard you say 1,000. So is it 186,000 or 186 total?
No, I think it was, I can go back to the slide, sorry, let's see. It was 186 for District 3, 187 for District 2 was the highest by one, but no, that's just straight 187, 186. No thousands. No. Yes?
I'm new to the area, so I just don't know. What district is the tradition area?
So that is District 5. That was our newest district, finally realized about a year or two ago, has 4 patrol zones in it, and that's all of Tradition, just past 95 on Gatlin. It takes all of Tradition. I'll show you the map on where it is. And so that would be 51, 52, 53, and 54 on the map is all of Tradition. 61 and 62 are our newest ones that we've created that'll start Saturday. But Tradition encompasses all of that, the 5s. Anyone else? Well, I appreciate it, and folks, as I said in the beginning, I'm very appreciative of this opportunity, and I think anytime we can get out and speak to our citizens and relate to them and get a message out there is a good thing. We have a great relationship with this community. We always have. I look forward to continuing that. And anyone who can go out there and speak on our behalf and speak as an ambassador to this city, we look forward to you and we welcome you being here. Our volunteers have always been our secret weapon. At the police department, we have over 100 volunteers who help in all capacities. It's great to see from a city, global idea to come in and really be spokespersons for us. So thank you so much. Thank you for taking this on, and I appreciate it, though. Thank you.
Alrighty, and now we have our emergency management department here to talk about hurricane preparedness.
So anyway, my name's Shane Ratliff. I see quite a few faces of people that have been in City University over the past couple of years. We've been presenting there, I think 2 or maybe 3 years now. If you were in City University before that, we weren't presenting there at the time. And so it came up about having an ambassador program, and we're like, ooh, what can you do to help us get our message out? Because last year, our statistics show that we reached just over 20,000 of our residents through all of our programs, through all of our outreach efforts, and so on and so forth. There's 250,000 people in this city. That's less than 10%. I'm never going to get 250,000 people with 3 people in our office. But you are now kind of, oh, thank you, perfect. You are now, well, maybe not perfect.
Press that button at the top. Did it work?
Testing. Yeah, there we go. So you are now extensions of our office or of the city. So 40 of you can reach a whole lot more people in your community than I can reach by doing, you know, a one outreach event every 3 days, or, you know, twice a week, or three, or you can do them all the time because there's a lot more of you. If you did one a month, 40 of you, that's 40 months worth, right? So I got to figure out which one's forward. Okay, here we go. Somebody turn the animations on. All right, so emergency management, our primary objective is to save lives, protect property, and also as a byproduct of that, save tax dollars, right? You can't put a price on saving lives, but if we can do things more efficiently so that we save the tax dollars, because it costs money to recover from a disaster, right, or to respond to a disaster, you can make a difference in our community by helping us prepare our citizens for what may or may not come, right? Because none of these things are guaranteed. I mean, those of you who are not originally from Florida like me, you know, a hurricane's not guaranteed every year, but I bet if you live in Florida long enough, you're going to experience one. You know, I can't say so much about an earthquake. You're probably never going to experience an earthquake this far south in Florida. If you lived in the Panhandle, maybe you'll feel the outer part of it, but you won't. You know, but down here, no, you're not going to feel an earthquake. You're never going to have a volcano. You know, volcanoes are not on our threat list. But we have a nuclear power plant, which can, you know, if something really, really bad happened, could do worse than a volcano could do to us. It's right across the causeway there. But luckily, they've never had any problems. Everything's good. They're only going to be, they're only commissioned for like 10 more years, and then they have to power it down or build a new one or put a new reactor in it. So we're doing pretty good there. What else do we have to worry about? What's the number one thing in Florida? Flooding. We have more floods happen in Florida than anything else. You would be shocked. And over half of them, just over half of them, like 51%, happen outside of the marked flood zones. So if you think that, oh, well, I'm in an X zone, I'm not going to flood, wrong. If we get enough water coming from the sky, you're going to flood because we're flat, we're sandy. The sand only holds so much water, and then it starts staying above ground, right? You know, the drainage systems, no matter how big Colt, you know, and you may meet him at some point, but no matter how big him and his department builds drainage systems, you put enough water in them and enough junk, like, you know, palm fronds and people throwing their garbage out on the side of the road and everything, that all goes into storm drains. They will not hold all the water that comes into it, right? If you put enough water into it. All right, so we're going to talk about tropical activity first because that is one of our more common hazards. It's also the one that scares everybody to death, right? We have 3 major media stations serving our area, and they will gladly get on there and scare you to death for 36 hours straight about what's coming. And then after it goes by and doesn't do what they said it was going to do, we'll say, well, we dodged a bullet. We have dodged a bullet. Well, okay, yeah, we may have dodged a bullet, but you didn't really have to ramp everybody up to absolute panic mode before it got here, right? So there's 3 types of things that we could go through. Obviously, a tropical depression, we have those all the time. We have those, and you may not even know about it. So, I mean, they literally will form and go through over the course of a weekend, and you just think it was a rainy weekend, but it was actually a tropical depression. My first week in Florida in 2017, I was here for a week before I started my job when I worked for Palm Beach County Emergency Management, and we actually had a tropical storm hit the first week of May in 2017, and I was like, oh my God, is it rain? I've heard the rainy season in Florida, but does it rain this much? It rained 11 inches in Palm Beach County in 3 days. When I got to the job the next week, they're like, whoo, that tropical storm we went through. Like, what? We had a tropical storm? Oh yeah, it don't rain that much. You know, it doesn't rain nonstop for 3 days unless it's something tropical. And I'm like, oh, okay. Tropical storm is a tropical cyclone. That's when it starts ramping up. The sustained surface wind speeds range 39 to 73 miles an hour. So that's the tropical storm. You'll hear meteorologists say weak tropical storm, strong tropical storm. Weak means it's 58 mile an hour or less. Strong means it's 58 mile an hour or more. That's kind of that delineation, because 58 mile an hour or less is actually just a regular severe thunderstorm. When you get a severe thunderstorm warning, that means winds up to 60 miles an hour. So that's a regular severe thunderstorm. Once you start getting over that 58, that's when you start seeing more tangible damages. And then a hurricane is 74 miles per hour or more. And you can see there on the picture, and this stuff, you said these would be like available for them to be able to go back and refer to different things. Oh, okay. The paragraph part. Okay, well, it's spelled out in the paragraphs too. I just don't read them on here because I've got it memorized. All right, so difference between a watch and a warning. A lot of people don't understand that when they say we're under a whatever watch, that does not mean it's happening tonight. A watch means that it's possible, note that word, it's possible within 48 hours. That means the conditions are ripe for it. Be ready for it. Within 2 days, it could happen. Warning means it is totally expected to happen within 36 hours, which means that's a day and a half from now. So it's going, they're pretty daggone certain it's going to happen. So I keep seeing a thing that other emergency managers from some of the rural counties are putting out. Said, think of it as like a taco night. So if you got your table here, the watch would be you have all these ingredients for taco night. You've got your, taco shells, you've got a bowl of meat, you've got lettuce, you got tomato, you got all the stuff there, but that's not tacos yet, right? So that's your watch. The warning is after you go through all the bowls and you have a taco, now you're in a taco warning because you now have tacos in your hand and ready to eat. So that's the difference between the watch and the warning. But what causes the most deaths during hurricanes has nothing to do, well, it does have something to do with the wind because the wind is pushing the water, but it's not the wind hitting the house. It's the wind pushing the water over places that water normally doesn't go and flooding people out or washing away homes, storm surge. That's what really kills people. So the mean sea level you see there, that's what the sea level would normally be if there were no tide, right? So the normal high tide is 2 feet above normal mean sea level. And if they say there's a 15-foot storm surge, that means, and it's coming at high tide, then you're going to have 2 foot plus 15 foot. That's 17 foot of storm tide. So whatever the ocean looks like flat today, add 17 feet in height, not distance, in height. That's how big the wave is going to be that comes in and crashes against whatever the first thing is that it hits, which is land. So storm surge is what really kills people. You saw a lot of storm surge during Hurricane Ian over on the West Coast because it came straight in, pushed a big wall of water with it, and washed and pulled houses out to sea. Houses, people, boats, everything that was on land, it pulled out to sea. All right, so evacuation zones. A lot of people are like, oh, the evacuation zones are because of how the houses are built or how high the winds are. If the winds aren't going to be over so high, they won't evacuate. It has nothing to do with the wind speeds. Our evacuation zones in Florida are based completely upon the storm surge probabilities. So they plug all that stuff into a model. They come up with what they call a MOM, which is a maximum of maximums, which is like the worst that could ever happen. Then they take and put it into something more realistic, and then they come up and say, all right, based on that, what will the water inundate? And what you see there is what the water would inundate at the maximum of maximums. So the red zones that you see are our first evacuation zone, Zone 1, Zone A. And that's because the storms usually come from the south-southeast. So the northeast quadrant, you'll always notice if a storm's going west, northwest, anything with west in it, you want to watch the northeast quadrant. That's the strongest part of the storm. If that part from the center, like slicing out the northeast piece of the pie, is the strongest part of the storm. So if that comes up the St. Lucie River from Stewart, where's the northeast quadrant? Where you see the red there. That's why that's Zone A. It's going to push more water on that side of the river than it does on the other side of the river. As a matter of fact, it'll pull water out of the other side. It won't push it. It'll pull it because it'll be the not northeast quadrant, but the northwest quadrant, which pulls down, which means it's actually pulling away so that it can scoop it back up and push it up on the northeast side. All right, all of that I say, again, flooding is the most common hazard we have. How many of you have flood insurance, no matter what your flood zone is? All right, good for you. I'm from Kentucky originally. You probably saw on the news a couple of weeks ago, everything in Kentucky was underwater, yet again, second time this year that it's happened, fourth time in 3 years that, entire cities have been underwater. If you don't have flood insurance, I hate to say it, but you're on your own. You will not be made whole by FEMA. FEMA's maximum payout, if you qualify for every single program FEMA has, it adjusts for inflation every year. I think it's at $42,000 now. So if your house is $1 million and you got $500,000 in contents, FEMA, if you qualify for everything, which you won't, but if you did, they will write you a nice big check for $42,000 and the rest of it you're on your own. So do not think that FEMA's not there to make you whole. FEMA's there to be the person that pushes a chair underneath you to catch you as you're falling. That's all they're there for. But then you have to get back up out of the chair by yourself. So if you don't have flood insurance, it's actually, unless you live out on the island, if you live on the island, more power to you. But unless you live out on the island, flood insurance is relatively cheap. We get a 25% discount in the city here. If you live in a special flood hazard area, you automatically get 25% off the top because of the community rating system program, which I manage, oddly enough, that I'm in the middle of a recertification right now for. But we get 25% discount because of all these different measures we've taken citywide amongst all these departments to make ourselves more, not flood proof, but less flood prone. Whether it be stormwater systems or elevations, like you notice how, if those of you from up north, because this is the first thing I noticed when I moved to Florida, those of you up north, you notice how when you're driving on the streets, the houses are all higher than you are? They aren't where we're from, are they? Sometimes they're below the road, but down here they're above the road, and that's because of programs like the CRS program, Elevate, road floods, which is perfectly fine. Don't call, say, oh my God, my street's flooded. It's supposed to be. We designed it that way. The street should flood so your house does not. If the houses were even with the road, then the streets flood and the houses flood. So that's why everything's elevated down here in Florida, is because that was the way it was designed, is because there was so much flooding. All right. Again, I mentioned radiological. What else are we prone to in Florida? Not just here. Less here, especially unless you live out west. Wildfires, right? Wildfires, did anybody live here in 1998? Nobody? Had a huge wildfire season down here in Florida that year. I remember I wasn't a kid, but I was a teenager, and I remember we had come down to Daytona for vacation, and I guess the fires broke out during that week while we were there, but in Daytona, it's sand. Nothing burns in sand. But on our way back, it took us, it was normally a 13-hour drive to Lexington from Daytona Beach. It took us like 22, 23 hours because we sit 5 or 6 hours on I-95 because it was closed because not Volusia County, but the next one north of it, the fire was literally blowing across all of the lanes of I-95 from the east to the west because that's the way the wind was blowing. And everything on the east side of 95 was burning, and then it jumped the interstate and burned everything on the west side of 95. So wildfires is a possibility. Here in the middle of the the densely populated city, not so much, but when you border up on areas like you got the savannas, did everybody see the smoke yesterday? That was a controlled burn. Forestry Service does that on purpose because they can control it on a day when there's low wind and the wind's blowing from west to east, toward the water, blah, blah, blah. They do controlled burns on those days so that when we're in the middle of wildfire season and someone, well, I don't want to say flicked a cigarette because, it's not always flicking a cigarette. It could be somebody camping. It could be a lightning strike. Lightning strikes start so many forest fires. But yeah, if they burn it now so that it's not dry and ready to, a tinderbox ready to go off so that when lightning strikes during rainy season, it doesn't catch on fire and burn. So they do a good job with managing those here, unlike some other states, California, that don't burn anything. They just let it grow, and then it burns itself and burns everybody else with it. How can you help our residents to prepare for whatever may happen? These 4 things that we're going to go over, these are the 4 things I want you to remember. I want you to get out and tell your communities about it, whether it be your HOA, whether it be your church group, whether it be the Kiwanis Club, whatever it is. These are the messages we want you to put out, because it doesn't matter if it's radiological, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a flood, or whether it's a wildfire. These 4 things are the things that will help you be prepared for those so that you come out the backside much better. Know your zone. Make a plan, build a kit, and stay informed. So let's go over those 4 things quickly. All right. You can assist our residents in finding out their evacuation zone and their flood zone. cityofpsl.com/hurricane will take you to or when you're on that page, there's a little thing you click, it says find your evacuation zone. Click on that, plug in an address, it'll tell you. It'll show you that map and show you whether you're in it or not. cityofpsl.com/flood. Same thing. There's a place on there that says check your flood zone. You click on it, put in an address. It'll tell you if you're in any kind of flood zone. Help our residents understand, because if they understand that they're in the zone, because most people don't realize, look at our evacuation zones. I mean, now mind you, it's Zone A and Zone B. They'd have to call both of them at the same, or both of them before the storm comes. That's a significant portion of the southeastern part of our city. It's everything east of the turnpike, except for, well, no, it's Jensen Beach. But yeah, pretty much everything east of the turnpike, south of, is that Crosstown or Aroso? Maybe Aroso, or I'm sorry, Port St. Lucie Boulevard. That's all an evacuation zone. Why? Because it's lower, it's closer to the big part of the river where the mouth of the river is, so it makes it more likely to take on more water. So help them figure out what their flood zones are. So Zone A, the red zone, means they'll call that for evacuation if there's expected to be 1 to 10 feet of surge. Zone B is 11 to 16. So if you hear them calling Zone B, but you didn't hear them call Zone A because you missed it earlier because you were doing something else, if they're calling Zone B, you know they've called Zone A. And 11 feet of storm surge on a place that normally would only take 10, you don't want. That means that side of that red side of the river is going to be a lot deeper than, it's going to be deeper than 10 feet. All right, make a plan. These 3 plans, if you have them, and execute them properly, that's the thing, is not just make them and put it away and never talk to your kids about it and never talk to your family up north about it, or if you don't ever do anything with it, then it won't help you. But a shelter plan, where is the closest shelter to you? All that stuff's on that psl.com/hurricane. What is the closest shelter to you? How do you get there? Write it down. What is the closest, whichever one's the closest shelter to you, and how do you get there? What is another way to get there if that road's blocked? Find 2 ways. You would be shocked how many people only know one way to get to a place because they have grown up their whole lives on GPS and have no idea how to get there other than the one way the GPS told them to get there. It's shocking. Evacuation plan. What route and alternate do you take if you have to evacuate? So if you have to, everybody pack up and let's go, what's the way you get out? What's the alternate way to get out? And then a family household communications plan. If we get separated, because guess what? We spend 8 hours a day at work? Kids spend 8 hours a day at school. That means 1/3 of the time an evacuation will be called when you're not together, right? So how are we going to communicate with each other? Where are we going to meet up at? That kind of thing. Make sure that you're able to get you and your family back together in one common place if you're separated when the order is called. Because they won't be able to get back home. School bus ain't going to take them home. If there's an evacuation order in your neighborhood, they ain't going to take them back home. You're going to have to meet them somewhere. So you can find downloadable plans on our hurricane page under the Make a Plan section in step 3 of the drop-down menu. Build a kit. I was just talking with someone here earlier, and I said, This is the one that nobody does. I said, if I were to guess, if I were to go to everybody's home, less than 10% of people actually have an emergency kit. And their response was, I'm guessing less than 5, you're being too generous. And I said, you're probably right. I mean, and I have to say I'm guilty myself. The medications, do I keep 7 days worth of medications separated in another bag? It just stays there all the time. No, because it would start expiring, right? And eventually I'm going to run low on my other meds, and they won't refill them within 2 weeks of the refill date, and all, so you can't do that. But I do keep all my medicine in the exact same place in the house, and I do have the bag because I've got other stuff in it, so that should I have to bug out, they call it a bug out bag sometimes. If I had to bug out, all I have to do is go rake it into the bag, all of it. 30 days worth, 60 days worth, whatever's in the bottle. So some of these things, it's not practical to keep packed all the time. Who's going to keep 7 gallons of water per person in their car 365 days a year? Right. No way. You can serve, if you keep 2 or 3, big cases like you get at Costco or Walmart or Sam's or whatever, of bottled water, which, I mean, it's normal for me to have 3 cases of it in my house at any given time. I can take that and throw it in the back of the car, and I can survive a long time on 3 cases of water. It don't have to be in gallon jugs. Those are kind of hard to deal with. So think of it in something more portable, not something so bulky. But yeah, those are the kind of things you want to keep. Food. You're not gonna put your baby food in the bag and keep it all year round. Baby ain't gonna like it once you make it 2 years from now, right? And then the last one, stay informed. There are so many ways that you can be informed about what's going on. We had a lot of people. We had the tornado outbreak right before Hurricane Milton last year. How do you get these warnings about tornadoes? Oh, I can name you at least 6 off the top of my head, but I promise you none of you have done them. Alert St. Lucie would have warned you. I got it before the tornado hit. The National Weather Service has, the iPause, which is the one that automatically goes out that comes to your phone. I got that on both phones. I also subscribe to INWS. If you just go and put INWS and Google search, it'll probably find it says it's an experimental thing. It's been experimental for 15 years now. They use that word, the experimental, because they don't want to be liable if it doesn't go off, but I've always had it go off. And I get those 15 to 30 seconds before I get the iPause alerts and before my weather radio goes off. I get those text messages from INWS 15 to 30 seconds faster. You can go there, wireless emergency alerts, the weather radio, that's the easiest one. Go buy you a NOAA weather radio, put you a backup battery in it in case your power's out, and those things will aggravate you to death until you figure out how to set it so that it only goes off for the warnings, not the watches. But yeah, it'll aggravate you to death. But you can't say you didn't know about it, because it's so loud it will wake you up in the middle of your sleep, and you will know that something's happening. So here's some contact information for us, the county emergency management, the state emergency management, all of our websites. Here is our office. It's Billy, is our emergency operations division director. He sends his best. He is at the National Hurricane Conference this week. Me and then Ronnie is my EM specialist too. He's also our expo planner. How many of you come to the Hurricane Expo every year? A few of you, yay. So June 7th, which is a Saturday, 10 a.m., 2 p.m. at the Mid-Florida Event Center. Come and join roughly 2,500 of your fellow residents and find out all you want to know about storms. All 3 news stations will have their meteorologists there doing presentations on what they think is going to happen this storm season. We also have vendors there. So like if you're looking for a new roof, or you've been thinking about gutters, or different other things that you might have done around your home, we're going to have those vendors there. We're going to have, we have a whole vendor hall full of vendors. And we restrict them to they have to somehow tie into hurricanes. We're not going to have anybody in there selling health insurance, so because that's not not a hurricane-related vendor. But we will have generators. You know, we have a generator vendor that'll come and install a generator at your house. There's our email. This is our generic email address, the pslem@cityofpsl.com. When you hit that, it hits all three of our email boxes at the same time without having to email all three of us separately. So you shoot it there, one of us will see it, we'll respond to you. You'll get a much faster response that way than if you emailed me and I'm on vacation this week, I'm not answering you. But if you hit that one, then, you know, Ronnie or Billy's going to get it too, and then one of them will answer you. If you have any questions or anything like that for us, if you run up on a situation, believe me, and you all know this because you all tried to do it to me during City University, some of you did, there's always someone in every group who will try to stump the speaker. They'll try their best. They'll ask the most crazy what-if question that would never happen in a million years just to see if the speaker will tell the truth. If they ask you one of those questions and you think, well, there actually is a possibility that that could happen, I want to be prepared for the next time that somebody asks me that, shoot us an email. Say, hey, somebody asked me blah, 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 blah. How do I'm one of your, make sure you say I'm one of your ambassadors before you give the question, because I'm going to be like, who's this guy? But yeah, well, and we'll tell you the best that we know, or we'll say that's not a valid question. Well, you know, if it's just something, you know, what if Godzilla, you know, was in the middle of the hurricane? And I mean, you'll have people that ask you crazy stuff. But but yeah, reach out to us. Any questions? I think that's the next one. Nope. Follow us on social media. My questions disappeared. I must have took that one off because I saw on the agenda there was like a question section at the end already built in. Yes.
So with the cuts to NOAA, or perceived cuts to NOAA, what's the emergency management plan on how to mitigate some of that?
We have spoken to our warning coordination meteorologist, WCM, warning coordination meteorologist here in Melbourne. So far, they have weathered and not been cut. They've not had any people lost. He said they have, there's stuff that they use in forecasting some of the, weather data that's being cut, but they're like, we've still got enough. We have built enough over the years to make sure that if this day ever came, we would still be able to provide you a pretty solid weather forecast. So, the GOES-1 satellite, they just put up 3 new satellites like 3 years ago. So if they cut the money for that, guess what? They've got 6 more that were put up 10 years ago that worked just fine up until 3 years ago. They can just use them. So that they've got all kinds of redundancies built in for the day when somebody decided that the National Weather Service wasn't worth having anymore. But so far, our office has had no cuts. From what I understand, the Hurricane Center had no cuts in the Hurricane Center because, federal government spending out $15, $20, $25 billion a year because of hurricanes. Why would they cut a paltry $10 million from the Hurricane Center that might help prevent some of that by warning people ahead of time, right? Anybody else?
This may be kind of a dumb question, but you were
There's
saying
no
$1
dumb
billion.
questions. There's crazy questions, but not dumb questions.
Are there different, like, mine was $800 and some dollars, and it's the right insurance for FEMA. So are there different companies that do it that it's cheap as $800 and some dollars in a year?
2 years ago, FEMA used to, because it's all underwritten, you know what underwriters are. It's all underwritten by the National Flood Insurance Program, which is a federal government thing. Until 2 years ago, you couldn't even get a policy unless it was through NFIP. Now you can go to any, well, not any, because not everybody does it, but you can go to a regular insurance agent. There are all kinds of them here in town. They can write flood policies now.
So that would be cheaper, because all I ever knew was right.
There's a lady that's an insurance agent here in town. She's on our program for public information, and I asked her about it in November. I think we had a meeting with her, and I said, "Hey, what are your policies looking like that you're writing now for like X zones, which are non-flood zones?" She's like, "They're actually fairly cheap." She said, "They're back down to what they were pre-pandemic." She said, "They're about $430 a year is what I'm averaging for an X zone." She said, "Now, if you're in an AE, like you would be if you were right on the water," she goes, "they've doubled." you know, they went from being like $1,400 to $2,800 a year. And she said, that ain't gonna go down because they're actually doing it based on true risk. The house sitting on the water is going to flood before the house not sitting on the water. That's a true risk.
You know, so what happened next river, but 800, when you're I'm going, whoa, what is 1,500?
Yeah, it's been all over the place because they did that change 2 years ago, and then they instituted what they call risk 2.0, which is they base every individual home on true risk, whereas used to it was spread. You know, the general insurance industry thing is to spread the risk. National Flood Insurance Program, they changed the rules and said, no, we're basing it on true risk because you had people living in Okeechobee or Osceola, somewhere in the middle of the state that have no water flowing through. Well, I guess Osceola has water flow through it, but I mean, are not going to flood from a storm surge. We're paying the same price as the person living on Hutchinson Island. For years it was that way. And they're like, no. They changed it. You living on Hutchinson Island, you're going to pay more than the people that live inland because you are going to flood before that one does. Anybody else? Ma'am. Well, there were 3 that hit 6 weeks apart. Francis, Jean, and Charlie. Or Wilma, I'm sorry. Yeah, Charlie hit the West Coast in that same period. That was 2004, 2005-ish. Yeah. Yeah, they came like 6 weeks apart. People were just barely starting to get recovered, you know, to start the recovery process from the one when the next one hit. And they started right back from zero. And it was because they crisscrossed the state. One came east and went across, went right up, or 2 of them made landfall in Stewart on the river and came right through. The other one made landfall on the west and came over and made a curve and come right through Port St. Lucie and back to Stewart. So yeah, and I know a lot of people that work in city government that were here then, and they're like, oh, you don't understand. They're like, right when we thought we were going to get to go home, because, you know, our EOC is activated, right when we thought we were going to get to go home, they're like, yeah, there's another one going to be here in 2 days. Oh my gosh. We just now got everything here from FEMA and from the state to start giving people food and water and all that. And now all that's going to be gone because it's going to get destroyed by this next one, and we're going to have to wait for it to come again. Yeah, it was a pretty bad year. Ma'am? Yeah, Expo. June the 7th. It's a Saturday. It's online. Melissa, I don't know the website because I'm not the vendor. I'm not the expo guy.
And I can email you that information.
Okay.
So at the end of this whole event, we're going to email you the PowerPoints for these 2, plus flyers for the Hurricane Expo. The vendors are going to close soon. You'll see it on that webpage.
Yeah, I think there's about a week and a half left for vendors to register, and they are going quickly. Yes. Yes and no. You can go to the Florida Division of Forestry's website, and they're supposed to put it on there a day before they do it. Because and we've had people say, why can't they do it a week before? Because they don't know what the winds will be next week. And they can't do it if the winds are not blowing out of the right direction. So they will only give you 1 day notice. This thing out here that happened yesterday, I got the notice the evening before, and it was from, who sent it to me? It wasn't even Forestry that sent it to me. I think it was the police department. Somebody at the police department got it somehow and said, here, in case you didn't heard about it. So then I sent it to 1PSL so that their operators would have it in case somebody calls. Another thing that's getting ready to happen is the sirens, the FPL sirens. They're going to be testing them for the next 6 weeks every day. So be ready for that. It's their annual test. If you hear them going off, it'll say, this is a test, this is a test, this is a test. Don't worry about it. Now, if it just goes and doesn't say this is a test, then worry about it.
So if it's happening, where can I go to see something that, because you said you only find out the night before or whatever, like where can I go
Oh, it's a Division of Forestry's webpage. I don't know. Yeah, if you just Google Florida Forestry, it'll get you there. You'll have to find the district, which is, I don't know what district this is, but it's, Melissa knows. You have to find the district, and it'll show you all the burn permits and everything.
Okeechobee
Okeechobee District.
District. The person who burned was the Florida State Parks, and you, if you live near them, I would sign up for their newsletter or their email blast, and they can email you when they're going to be having it. 'Cause the person who owns the land should be sending out the press release to let you know what's going on. He who owns the land should be managing their land, and that one was from the Florida State Parks. You could just call the Savannah's Preserve State Park, or if you live near Jonathan Dickinson State Park, you tell them the same thing. But he is right, yes. And usually you don't know what the weather is
Yeah.
until the night before.
And because we've asked, I'm not gonna lie to you, we've got so many phone calls from 1PSL. Why can't we know this ahead of time? That we've actually called and asked them, when can you let people know? Or and they're like, well, first of all, they need to watch the news because it will be on the newscast the night before. So they need to watch the news because they send out press releases to all the news stations, and I have seen them report it. And they're like, or they can go to our website and look, but we can't give more than 24 hours notice because we don't know what the wind conditions will be. And then if the first time we say we're going to do it and we don't do it, they'll complain. So we're not going to say it unless we know we're going to do it. All right, is that it? Come on, throw a hard ball at me. Throw me a crazy one. Throw me the Godzilla question. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you all so much for coming. And I do want to remind you, we got a lot of information today. You are not expected to memorize everything that was said. That's why we have the app. That's why we have these presentations sent out to you. So that way you can get the gist. You know you want to talk to someone about this. You can review the information in advance and know exactly what we said. So the message doesn't get telephoned and changed from person to person. Does anyone have any questions about the program overall that you've thought of? Yes.
As far as doing the online, city, university courses, there's no specific start date for the online?
Nope, it is continuous. You can start it whenever you'd like, and you have the option because they are long classes. It is a 9-week course that we videotaped and we have it on there for you. So you can start the video wherever you'd like, answer questions, and whenever you're like, okay, this is too much for today, I'm coming back another day, you can save it and then come back to it another time. And there are instructions on how to do that on our website, on our City University page, on the online program. It'll tell you how to do that. Any other questions? Alrighty, can we get a group photo with everyone? Is that okay? Thank you so much. If you would all come up to the front.